my fault. I asked her.
I've been procrastinating, I was supposed to do this months ago.
Oh,
But the good thing was, I went to a meeting recently that gave me the ordinance and I just had to tweak it. So I'm like, how do I?
Would you join with me in the pledge? I
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. Before we have reports, I'm going to see if there's any public comment this morning. We ask that you identify yourself and limit your conversation to 5 minutes. Is there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move down the line. Samantha, do you have anything this morning?
I do not.
Taylor?
Adam just wanted me to check on where we were at with the 911 ordinance. And if you guys have looked into it anymore.
Okay, which, you have to be more specific.
About the county 911 ordinance, I gave you guys all samples like of last month, I think it
Was that on signs or?
was. No, it was so I can create a sign ordinance.
I wasn't here, I
You were
guess.
not
We haven't done anything with it.
Okay.
Adam sent you here to ask one question.
here. Huh?
He sent you here to ask one question.
He did. He was gonna come, but he had to take his dog to the vet, so.
Worked.
I will find it somewhere and talk, because I think it involves a county highway and stuff.
Yeah,
I've had conversations in the past with Aaron, so I'll get that and have a conversation with him, and then we'll work on it.
Anything else?
Wow.
Philip?
Nothing from the state attorney's office.
And our sheriff's department, do you have anything this morning? We're gonna have a little bit of a closed session
Okay,
on the sheriff's department.
okay,
I think that's the appropriate way to deal with that.
okay,
All right,
sounds good.
okay. Augie?
The only thing I have is we started early voting last Thursday. And when I walked out the door today, we've had 5 early voters. So,
Burning it up.
burning it up. That's all
Are there
I
any
got.
questions of Augie? Andy?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
On the courthouse, on the doors that aren't used right now, as
Okay.
you walk up the stairs, is that still plastic tape?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want me, I know the
I've
sheriff
looked, I
was,
found where you can get some nice decorative outdoor quality
well, I've
ropes.
got 2 pails of it, I've got about 300 feet of it.
Chain,
Yeah.
yours is chain,
Well, it's plastic.
yeah,
You could,
okay.
I mean, not that easy, but I mean, it would come off of the,
So you're donating it?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, no, I wanna be paid for it.
I told the sheriff that you had that, Jeff. and-
Okay, I've not heard
recommended it.
anything, so I'm gonna be up in the, upstairs in the garage, and I'll pull they come in red buckets,
Okay,
about like that, and it's just full of chain.
yeah, I told him that you had that, and was willing to donate it, and be
Yeah.
a good use of
I
across those
think that
doors.
would look much better. And
Absolutely.
have we checked out the signs to make sure they're professional?
They were new signs, right? They point the right way now?
Yeah, I didn't see if he's put them up yet or not.
Okay.
But yeah,
But we have obtained them.
He got them from out
Jimmy.
here.
Yeah, Jimmy
Okay.
ordered them for us,
Yeah.
and
I
yeah, we
just
had a,
noticed that the courthouse looks real nice, and we just need to, now, as far as the doors and the emergency hits on them, what are we doing there?
I'll get back.
Yeah, kind of in a holding pattern on that, waiting for the double, Michael's told us that it had to be a double
Right,
panic bar,
double,
yeah,
okay.
That gets expensive.
for both doors.
Well, there's 4 doors.
At
Yeah,
each door.
So there's
both
8
doors.
8 doors?
Yes, because of the width.
Daniel?
Not much, stopped out last week, the shelter's full as usual. He says 40 animals in the shelter. She's gonna extend hours where they have to come in and adopt. I think she's gonna stay later one day during the week and then have extra time on Saturday where people that have work can get off and have time to come out and check the animals, so other than that, everything's all right.
Any questions of Dan? I wanted to back up. Where are we at with Sycamore, since you were here? Where are we at with alleviating that issue?
What, Kim walked in, you got anything new on that, Kim?
No, we haven't. Right now, they finished up with the last few parts on the boiler, which was the relief valve and some switches last Monday, not last Monday, Monday before last. So now we're negotiating the bill and services, so, but we haven't scheduled that sit down yet with Jimmy and Rocky, is who I'll meet with.
Are you gonna look at or contemplating finding out whether there's a maintenance agreement?
I have yes, so we've been pulling all financial documentation, and we have that documentation as well as every bill for service we've gotten in addition to that. So, I do have that contract, it's kind of vague, but, we definitely have some good points on there. I mean, it specifically addresses the boiler. It's not a very inclusive contract, but it should be a pretty good leg to stand on, and that was through 2020, so.
Did you have anything else? I'm gonna hiccup here and stop our reports and go back to you.
I apologize.
No, that's
I
fine.
had we had some good news on the roof. There was a slice that was causing a leaking. We knew we had some water and some issues, and luckily it was a $300 fix, so that was a good news on that. And no, we're still kind of in the planning phases of where, moving forward right now with Sycamore. I'm looking at other bids, contracts, best plan of action, and we're scaling back to putting together the general maintenance requirements for this building. So that's what we're working on, is a maintenance guide and preventative maintenance troubleshooting guide.
Any questions of Kim? Russ?
I talked to the guy about the generator at the tower today. For the install is about 3,000. And he's just on standby when we're ready. He said that does not include getting the gas.
Okay, yeah, we'd have to get
Right, we'd
it.
have to get the gas.
Right.
And he still talked about the switch panel, changing it to upgrading it to 200 amp.
Yeah.
And I gotta get him some copies of bills for the government center to see about reducing electrical bills there.
Okay, cool.
And
Sounds
moving that power wire.
Yeah.
Did he look at that in the garage, Russ?
Yes, we went down and looked at it. The switch panel's just a little small.
Okay, he said he recommends a bigger one.
He wants a bigger
Will he
one.
take that other one in
He
exchange?
said he would take it in trade.
Okay,
and
good,
Deduct that from
good.
the cost.
Was he gonna use the pad or was he gonna pour a new pad, or,
I think he wanted it closer.
yeah,
Yeah.
close to the building?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I understand.
He doesn't pour them, Hunter makes them down in San Luis for him, he just buys them and sets them,
Yeah.
so.
And did you talk to him about securing it somehow, or are we gonna end up having to put a fence around it, so nobody,
We did not discuss that.
okay. Well, we need to talk to him again and see if he can secure it where no one, be difficult for someone to go out and steal it versus if we wanna put a fence around it. Security can't, what options we have.
Okay, no, we hadn't got that far yet.
We have another report here in a little bit that might have a bearing on that,
Okay,
okay? And probably eventually we're gonna wanna put a fence around that.
Well, yeah. I think it needs to.
I do too.
Because, you know, that current building, I remember the radio guy said someone went and stole something off the side of it, you know, for scrap.
Well, and they'll steal the copper off the
Right,
tanks.
well, it was copper,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
So, I mean, it's something we're gonna have to deal with.
Mhm.
Set it in position where it can have a three-sided fence against the building
Yeah, all right, makes sense.
anchored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know at the ESDA, we ended up buying a tank and you know, that cost us,
$1,200.
and installation, it was over 2,000 altogether. But,
Yeah, it was $3,000 to
Yeah.
get all that taken care of.
but I just wonder if we contact Line IFS or someone, just rent the tank versus buying it,
They won't rent a small tank,
how it was considered.
$250. They'll rent a $500, but they won't rent a $250.
And 500, it's only, what, $12 a year or something?
Yeah, so I
You're
mean, we
probably
could
better off to
put
rent a 500.
Well, yeah, I mean, it'll last a while, but versus 3,000 to buy.
Right.
You know, I just thought that was a little pricey myself, just for, but we can look into that.
yeah, I had no idea. Of course,
Yeah.
1,200 was theirs, and then Eric getting it all set up was the other part.
Yeah,
So it's still gonna cost us something to have it, although they may go ahead and pipe that for us, I don't know, we'll have to
right,
see.
yeah.
Anything else, Russ?
That's all I've got.
Carl?
Well, I wanted to talk about the new deputy. I don't know what you're wanting to talk about in closed session, you know.
Oh, we can, yeah, we can do that now, but there's some other things we need to talk
All right.
about, as it relates to Rick Stewart.
I know we authorized increase to 8 deputies, which we actually had already authorized that, what, 2 years ago when they hired the resource officer. And then, of course, within 3 months after he was hired, he quit, moved on. We didn't replace that deputy. I know, Mr. Bruner, you keep bringing up at meetings about people asking you, deputy quit. Well, what, 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, we had one resign.
Well, they claim we fired one, that's what they tell me, but I knew that wasn't right.
No.
Yeah, stop listening.
But anyway, that deputy that resigned, they were able to soon replace an experienced officer for that. So we are authorized for them to have 8 deputies, and they just recently hired another deputy for the department. He started last week. So we're back up, we're at the 8 deputies, very experienced officer. We're very fortunate to get that officer. So anyway, then we also have a chief deputy, which in my eyes makes 9, but you know, as chief deputy, it's kind of separate. I got to figuring just off the top of my head last night, a new deputy probably is costing the county over $100,000.
Oh,
When you look at the salary, benefits, all the insurance, vehicles, equipment, just everything, you know. So, you know, when we make these decisions, it's not just, it's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. But we want to make sure we're staffed, and another thing with these 8 deputies, one of them is on workman's comp. He's been on there since last spring.
Is he gonna come back?
He's hoping to, but, you know, we haven't got an
That
official.
make us 9 then, right?
No,
No.
we have 8 deputies,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but one of them is on leave, medical
Yes.
leave right
Okay.
now,
Right.
so we only have 7 in the field.
correct,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
Sorry.
But yeah, we're hoping soon he'll be back, and he's wanting to get back as soon as possible, but it's not happening yet. So that's kind of put us in a spot, not having him for the last
Well, I
9,
explained it
10
to
months.
this guy that keeps saying we fired one, so
Well, why don't he come to a study session and we can explain it
you
to him?
don't know him, that well, I do.
Well,
He's a
I
jerk.
just want, you know, the public, you know, they keep hearing this, and we want, let the public know
I'll
what's
tell him.
going on.
I hear it every week, so
Yeah.
I'll tell him.
So anyway, that's where we're at on that. So we we did get that person hired and glad to have that person on board. And if we want to talk more in study station or
A little
a
bit,
closed
there's
station to,
nuance to it,
yeah,
that have to do with individuals,
right,
not general.
Where's he live at? We did take that off where they have to be in Edgar County, right?
no,
Right, we
There's-
used to have that, right?
years
Yes.
ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
We did, yeah.
But the new deputy, my understanding, he does live in Edgar County,
Okay, well, that
Just
doesn't make any
right there,
difference.
right behind you.
right there.
Hey,
County,
I do, I live in Paris.
good,
Yeah. See, he used to be, he was a deputy
okay.
with the, he was a
Oh, right.
detective with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
Then he went to the PD and now he's back with us.
Good, good.
You have the right to remain silent. I have my lawyer with me, so.
So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody.
And Carl makes a good point. The board is trying to do everything that it can to be responsive to the state's attorney,
Some people
to the
can't
sheriff's
tell,
department,
can't tell some people.
and to the citizens, to make sure that we're covered. And not unimportantly, for the safety of the guys
Oh,
that are
yeah.
out there in the
Yeah,
field.
right.
So, thank you,
And
Carl.
with this extra hire and everything, especially if Adam, when Adam gets back, you know, most of the shifts now, they have two on every shift, but that'll make it where they can have two on every shift, 24/7. You know, more protection for the
Right.
community and officer
Protection
safety
for the
too.
officers, right.
Correct.
Anything else, Carl? Bill? All right. Okay, Lisa, have at it.
Alrighty. Well, so Kim's here, so I don't need to talk about health department.
Get my watch out of here.
Yeah.
We are going to make an appointment of Mark Anderson to the board. Dr. Rico called me this morning early and let me know that that's their recommendation.
Health board.
Yes.
He'd be good.
Does that need to go to a vote first though, because it hasn't gone to the whole
Rico
board?
asked me to go
Okay.
ahead and do it.
All right.
Yeah, the board doesn't technically, well, you can do it however you want, but
Okay, I
we're
didn't
gonna
know
have
if
it
we
on
needed
the
a
agenda
vote.
so we can get it filled.
So we will not have met by the time that it becomes official.
Okay.
What's Mark do?
Funeral,
Templeton? Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought, yeah. Probably move.
Go ahead,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's all right, no, it's fine, because that was part of it. So Jeff and I both were, part of the broadband committee meeting that met this last week, to have Craig from NextLink meet remotely with us to discuss NextLink's proposal for broadband expansion. And there are two rounds. The first one is the round one that we had done the letter of support for Frontier. And the next, and that was for fiber only. And then the next phase is there are more options on what type of broadband service they can bid for. So to back up a little bit, we also were thinking, we had invited both Pavlov and Frontier to join our meeting. I didn't hear back from Pavlov and Frontier did not respond at the last minute. And that was the man that we met with before. And then got an email from him yesterday that I knew he had been ill, but also frustratingly, we did not get awarded round one for broadband expansion because we did not have the 10% hard to reach that was required. Now, if they had included my house on it, we would have gotten the 10%, but that was not, according to the state, that was not on the map. So, he said they are interested in bidding again on this second round, but I just find that so ironic because, you know, we were selected as one of the 8 most challenged counties in the state. We were one of the 5 that went through that whole huge process to gather data. We did our part and then they tell us we don't qualify. So, I'm super irritated about that. But we had a very productive call with Craig from NextLink, and they are looking at fixed wireless, everything being fixed wireless. And so that led us to quite a bit of conversation, but I had said to him, because I had talked to him beforehand in preparation a couple of times, I'm like, hey, I have a tower. So, interestingly, the fact that our tower is 500 feet does not make it more attractive than a tower that is 250 feet, because they want a tower that is 250 feet. And we're like, well, you can put yourself at 250 feet. So, Josh gave me the coordinates that I sent to him, and that is very attractive. So maybe we'll be able to do something there, whether it's as in-kind contribution, which increases the strength of their application, or we actually try to make some money. So either way, you know, I'd like to see them participate on our tower if that's what everybody ends up agreeing to when that time comes. He had said, and I'm not into the techie part, but he had said their lowest strength would be about 100 megabyte, which would be about $50 a month, and he said, just for comparison, Netflix uses about 4. So it would be really good service for about $50, and the highest service would be 1 gig at $100, and that wouldn't be a private use situation. So the application is supposed to be opening up in about 3 months, and so we can write them a letter of support at that time. I think that's really all I had on that. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh.
Okay.
Talking about towers, I know we talked with the state's attorney about what we need to do to get out of that.
Yes,
When's that deadline? Does anybody
do
remember?
you remember the deadline on the tower?
To notify them that,
I think it was a 2-year deadline.
Yeah, but there's,
And I think that it's, that contract had an evergreen provision that it would constantly renew itself. Did it for 4 or 5-year terms, and after that annually. And so without any notice by the county or the company, it would exist until there was notice provided by everyone that they didn't want to proceed any further.
okay, so we need to move on, or. I guess-
Provide notice to,
Yeah,
yeah,
if that's the kind of board's
yeah,
desire.
yeah,
yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
what we
it's
need,
done.
how do we need to proceed?
whatever we need to do, we need to do it.
Oh,
I'll send you a text, okay? Thank you.
Okay, next up, battery storage system ordinance. This is the one I've been procrastinating on, and I'd like to believe that when I procrastinate, there's always some sort of subconscious reason. And this one was that, you know, I went to that UCCI meeting, and specifically because they had the attorney from Heil Roaster talking about battery energy storage system ordinances, BESS. And he made it very clear, because I don't know anything about these, but he made it very clear that whether or not there is a solar system built, that there's still gonna be a lot of demand for the battery energy storage systems, because they can be used by any form of energy, electric generation. So he had given us a template that we weren't supposed to use, and then I got a copy of it and I used it. But I took out all of the part that had to do with zoned, and that's what this is. So if you will open it up, a lot of it, and you know, this is better written than what I had for the wind and what I had for the solar. Every time I read one of these, I'm like, oh, this is better. I highlighted in yellow the parts that we need to really look at and to determine.
Is there a state, has the state passed guidelines like they did
No,
on?
to my knowledge, the state still has not passed guidelines
Yeah,
yet. Yeah,
Like on setbacks?
right.
Is there any minimum setbacks or anything
No,
at the state level?
nope. So I just left in here what he has, and then I highlighted it. So on page 5, it's talking about financial assurance in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit to be 110% of estimated project cost. So this is the first one, the first financial requirement. And then, everything I thought was just interesting that everybody ought to read, I highlighted in gray. And so there's quite a bit. What I thought was really interesting that I sure didn't see when we were doing anything on wind and solar was on page 6, it requires them to give a pretty big list for who is involved, who has an ownership, if the ownership changes. And Augie, there's quite a bit where I've changed it and put Edgar County Clerk and Recorder on here. And on the top of page 7, it says that they also, it says in the application, the applicant shall provide sufficient documentation showing that a public meeting has been held and all landowners and residents within 1.5 miles of the project footprint and within the project footprint have been properly notified of said public meeting. So Carl, I thought that might be especially interesting to you. On page 8, a drain tile survey. It does not limit like the solar one does. The solar one talks about drainage district tile. This one does not specify drainage district, it just says a drain tile survey.
So it could be field tile
Could be
or
field tile,
mains
yeah.
or whatever.
But I don't know how big of a deal that is, but I'm thinking it would still be a big deal. Setbacks, this is what he has listed. We can agree or change. Emergency.
Before you skip, we have no feel, or I don't have any feel for what the setbacks, and I don't even know what these look like, okay?
They look like big generator boxes. You know, it's just a big square box,
And they're, what, this high?
big. No, they're bigger,
All right.
yeah.
What's the makeup of the batteries? Is it like, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking of lead. Acid
I don't
batteries.
know, but it talks about what you gotta do to
Okay.
decommission, but I don't know the details of what it consists of.
Okay.
It does mention in here quite a bit on emergency management. So I had our solar one up on another screen. I think that what they have in here, again, is better than what was on our solar one.
So these would be, like if you have a solar farm, then they come in with these big battery things and to store what's produced from the solar to.
They can,
Just
yes.
keep that one.
I mean, that'd be the only way, the only reason they need these batteries, correct?
At this time, but there's a lot of talk that they could use these for any type of energy creation. So these could pop up everywhere that there's anything that creates it, even whether it's a coal factory or nuclear or anything. But right now, the push is with solar because of the inconsistency. An emergency sign of no more than 4 square feet. I thought that was interesting. Why 4? Why 4? And on page 10, I wasn't sure that this wording was correct for us. Warning signs identifying underground wire locations shall be placed at all road crossings, creek, waterway, and ditch crossings, and all underground wire locations shall be GPS mapped and given to the local GIS office and Julie. So instead of GIS, would it say the highway department? Is that right? Because GIS information is kept here,
Well,
as
it's,
opposed to the supervisor assessments?
they keep it here too.
Okay,
Yes, they keep it here because the highway department is heavily vested in GIS
okay.
for obvious reasons.
All right. At the bottom of page 20, it talks about It should be maintained in good working order. Site shall be maintained, including snow removal, at a level acceptable to the local fire department and, if applicable, the local ambulance district. Good. Top of page 11, all damage to waterways, drainage ditches, field tiles, or any other infrastructure caused by blah, 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 has to be fixed. This use of public roads, I need to just email this to Aaron.
The road use agreement
Yeah.
is appropriate for
And
this.
it, yeah, it doesn't state, yes, here it go, enter into road use agreement. So I need to send that to him. Bottom of page 12, it makes it really clear that if the owner or operator of a BES changes, a new operating permit shall be paid to the county or the county's evaluation of the change of ownership. Well, that's not, I've not seen that anywhere before because, you know, the solar and wind just change ownership all the time and there's no requirement laid out like this.
I like that.
I do too. Now it makes me wanna go change the others.
Well, we can.
We can. Maintenance report, this is another one. February 1st each calendar year, a report to the Edgar County Clerk and Recorder containing the following information. We haven't had that where we've required them to have a maintenance or annual report. Which means, what I was thinking about this with you, it's kind of like you need to have a calendar that like, okay, so have I heard from them? It's February. But it does make sense. It's another way for us to keep track if something has changed.
So the board would be able to review that report and it'd be a matter of record that
Yeah.
way. That's why it's going to the clerk.
Bottom page 15. In the event of abandonment, the project site property owner or leaseholder shall bear ownership of it and all equipment and components. Now, they were talking about usually whoever builds this owns that little piece of property. It is not like with the regular solar farms. I don't like to say that word, solar systems. On page 16, to the extent of financial assurance, everybody who owns 20% or more has to be listed for long-term ownership as well. And it says the county may but is not required to allow a reduction of the commissioning financial assurance in the amount equal to the salvage value. I read that as we could go ahead and salvage the whole thing and still charge them the full amount. I like that. Page 18, I don't know anything about this. As far as the application fee, it says, must submit a certified check to the county for $40,000 and an additional fill in the blank per megawatt up to $250,000. So we need to fill in the blank. I'm thinking, do the math, make it $250,000. Of course, we don't get to keep the money. Here's another one. Any violation of this ordinance shall be an offensible, punishable fine of $1,000. Each day is another $1,000. I'm thinking that's way too low of a fine.
Well, we wanted to get this to you.
Yeah.
We've heard that we do have people that are interested in not only the solar setups on a ground in Edgar County, but also that they'd like to put in battery along with it. So
And we had not heard that before.
I've assigned 2 solar solar farms in like the last few months.
you have what?
I've assigned 2 addresses for solar farms in the last few months.
For commercial ones?
I don't know who they're with. One's off of Route 1 and one's at the end of Cherry Point. I don't know if they're just interested in it and they're trying to get an address to start the process, but I have the company.
Does she need some information that at the point that that they request that she sends them or lets us know, so we send them the solar ordinance.
I usually get a call.
He's from Soul Source Power.
I don't even know names anymore.
And they
Right.
change,
They change so much, and
right,
it can be the name of that particular entity versus the corporate, and, okay. One on Sherry Point, I don't know, do I know about that? I don't think I
It's
know
like,
that one.
it's right on the edge of town, like, where I didn't know if it was ours or cities.
I mean,
But
right,
it's-
right out here. Right out here where High School Road,
Yeah. something
Um,
that area,
That's the
Yeah.
edge of, yeah.
Yeah.
Barclays,
yeah.
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard about that.
Mm-mm. Okay,
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, yeah.
all
But
right,
at any rate,
so,
so when did you wanna see this on the agenda?
so it needs to be on the agenda in March, because we have to get it on the agenda and voted on before they submit an application, or they're submitting an application with no rules.
Are there some of these batteries, I mean, do you have battery storage with yours? I mean, I'm not
Whatever extra goes right into
the grid,
the grid.
right.
And there's a separate meter that shows how much goes into the grid.
You're,
And then I get it back if I need it.
I guess I wanna know what the composition of these things are. I mean, is this something that's really dangerous to have close to you, or is it like having a flashlight in your pocket? I don't know. Well, and that's a little simplified, but
Oh,
is it
but you're right.
lithium?
And you know, it will be like with some of the other, it will be hard to get objective information.
To me,
I
that's
can
the important thing about the whole thing, is to tell me whether it's a explosive thing next to my house, or whether it's a,
Or if it's like a car that you can't get it, put out once it starts, that's
Yeah.
my thing.
Look
Yeah,
at
right.
it this way, if you would, Andy, is we need to get something in place.
Yeah,
And then, I mean,
Right.
so that we don't have somebody walk in, hand
And
an
do that.
application, and we have absolutely
Mhm.
no control. There's gonna be questions and we can make modifications to it. But,
yeah, and this doesn't have any guidance or information as far as the size or the composition, other than the amount that it can store. There's nothing else in the ordinance, and we didn't talk about anything else either in that regard.
I have no idea whether looks like an old farm battery
Right,
sitting
like
out there.
Yeah.
lead and acid hanging around and.
Yeah, I don't have any. Yes,
Sometimes they have those IT rooms that are separate, sometimes they have their own fire suppression system built into them, cause sometimes it's the kind that displaces oxygen and they're really the CO2. So I think sometimes they have their own codes on those little battery buildings. I just thought-
Yeah. Well, and when we do, because we'll have to have a hearing, they're gonna have a hearing of their own, or they will have a public informational meeting. Hopefully, they do a decent job of letting those around there know, but then there'll also be a public hearing before we grant them a permit. And those will be questions we sure wanna know. And my vision is just, because I've just seen some solar panel fires, let alone a battery fire.
Yeah, it
And then you
sounds,
see pictures of cars on fire and talking about how many thousands of gallons it takes and how long it takes. And then I'm thinking, and they're gonna put this in the middle of a cornfield, and it's harvest, and nightmares.
well, do you use water to put it out? Or
No.
there needs to be a lot of information on
Mhm.
what to do if something like this
Right, and it
happens.
says that, your emergency management coordinator and the fire, it states that several times in the ordinance. The challenge is, Jill had a hard time getting them to respond on the little one on the north end of Kansas, let alone something big like this. So, we need to talk about this again at our next study session, so can we
you
make?
need to fill in the blanks on kilowatt. I don't even know how many kilowatts is the normal What is the normal size of one of them? Are they 100 watt, or are they,
I will see if I can
100
find some
kilowatts, I mean.
objective
I was gonna say it's
information.
more than 100.
well, I meant kilowatt, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
I will see if I can find objective information. You know, usually what you're gonna find is the people who wanna build them,
Right.
or it's the people who are absolutely opposed, and where's that middle? I will see what I can do.
all right, well, read this stuff and we'll try to get more information so we can discuss it at the next study session. Okay,
So if we can have it on that agenda, thank you.
please?
One thing I wanted to bring up, after our last county board meeting, did you see that gentleman that was sitting in our audience?
Yes.
He came up and talked to us, and he was talking about a proposed solar farm up to 1,500 acres in the east part of the county. So
There's
I-
another one that's two that we've heard about too.
So-
2,000 acres.
where is that
I
at?
don't remember, do you? I've been talking about it.
Are we sure this isn't the same one?
Okay,
I think it's the same one.
could be the same one.
Okay.
It's just been a real discussion on, are they gonna go north and south of the road? Yeah,
So just make you be aware that, you know, there is pretty good activity trying to put something like they've got over at Coles County.
That's a wind farm,
No, it's
Yeah,
solar
solar.
farm.
They're trying to put a wind farm in,
yeah,
but, yeah.
that's what I thought.
It'll be interesting to see how funding is working its way, whether it is or isn't.
Yeah,
There's been all kinds of reports on, you know, the set-asides, all that program has been stopped
Yeah, so-
temporarily.
yeah, you know, with this, what Trump's trying to do, you know, it might change a lot of this. Have to see how things go. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I
But-
still foresee battery storage being something that
We
stays,
have to be in another meeting at 10:30.
whether we like it or
Okay,
not.
we'll get,
Okay.
Jeff,
That's
I
all.
did have one thing, just if you see it, so that you guys are educated, able to speak to it. Medic 11, which is our ALS non-transport truck, our paramedic chase vehicle, it has all kinds of names, was replaced. It got its license last Friday, so you will see it out and about in the community. It is a new vehicle, but that was paid for 100% by the SAMHSA grant that we wrote for. So, just wanted to let you know.
cool. We need to move into closed session, okay? A motion to move into closed session for the purposes of talking about personnel. Need a motion? Russ, Andy? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We'll go into closed session as soon as everybody that's appropriate time, if you can be here.
I'm not sure.
And be careful out there.
Where is it?
Good to see you.
Thanks,
Down southwest of Paris,
Yes, sir.
Anything you need to go over?
down by one of the hog farms.
Let me know when we're back in.
Out there.
Are we there?
Yep.
All right. Did you have something else that you didn't catch? I wanted to let you know that several of us had a brief discussion with Tim the other day, who's the president of CORE. And I thought it went pretty well. It wasn't a high purpose meeting.
Yeah.
We just met the new executive secretary, or
CEO.
executive, whatever he is,
CEO.
CEO of the firm. Tim is bowing out at the end of this year. He'll still be on the board and ownership, but he's the current president. At any rate, and please pop in if I miss something. They let us know that, and so Michael had let us know, that Mid-Illinois Concrete had answered and had shipped out all the answers to the questions and concerns that Michael's firm had. And Michael has since reviewed everything along with his engineers, and they've got some clarifications that they're shipping out today. We're gonna meet again next Thursday, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, and that would be the regular meeting date. Thursday at 11 o'clock here would have been, we canceled last week.
Right, so you're not the 27th, but the 6th?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. So that would have been the normal next meeting.
okay.
And Michael said there's not really any reason to meet until they get everything resolved with Mid-Illinois.
Right.
They feel, or he feels, that they will have answered all the questions that he talked to us
Okay.
about. And they should be able to get, going mid to late March,
Okay,
okay?
weather depending.
Yeah, weather depending.
Okay.
They're gonna also work, with BET, which is our testing firm, to make sure that they're aware of some of the deficiencies that they have done
Right.
and what we expect going forward in the future. And that's where we set. Also, Michael, we sent out, all of the, time and, expenses that Michael spent on solving all these issues with the foundation and associated, construction. And they're gonna start including all those expenses as a deduction to the total cost of the project. So we'll start seeing those figures in which codifies that they are accepting responsibility, Core is,
Okay,
and so forth. Now,
doesn't cost us anything.
no, that's what I'm saying,
That's
is,
right.
in other words, if the project's 5,000 and we get 1,000, the project's now 4,000. I'm just using that as an example, we're talking millions here, but
So the Corps is stepping up too.
Core's stepping up. But they still, Michael would still like them to take more responsibility about directing their subs.
Core,
And, yeah.
they should,
And-
they should. I'm really bothered that it's kind of a blame game out there, pointing fingers at each other, but Core's ultimately in charge.
Yes.
Right.
And they keep saying, and that they accept, the responsibility, and they're gonna stand by that
Right.
these errors are not gonna cost us.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah.
I mean, and we keep reminding them of that.
Well, that was why they were hired to do that.
Right, that's why you don't do what the high school did.
Yeah,
Yep, so at any rate, that's what I had to tell you.
yeah.
We're moving along on the audit. I gave you the figures, which hasn't changed. It looks like we're gonna be right around even for the year. Last year, a little better than even on expenditures. And we'll go from there. And we'll continue to try to figure out how to come up with the money for the 8th deputy. The 8th deputy. Anything else to come before the meeting that we've missed? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Russ moves, Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned, folks.